Welcome back to Sacred Cow Barbecue, everyone. I'm your host, Patricia Aiken. That was a fun first hour. It just flew by, and I know the second hour is going to do the same. It's my privilege to welcome Dave Hall to the show. Dave, you've got some fundraising things that I want to talk with you about, how it might be able to affect the station, and also the Patriot movement. Your blood seems to bleed red, white, and blue like mine does. And so welcome to the barbecue. I appreciate you making time to be here tonight.
Thank you very much, Patricia, for the invitation this evening.
Great. We want to talk fundraising, and there's some needs here. You work with an organization, but tell us a little bit about you first before we talk about the meat of it.
I'm a patriotic, born and bred American from the great state of Utah. I've lived all over the United States, though, and I've traveled quite a bit with our business. I have a wonderful wife and 8 wonderful children.
Did you say 8?
8. That's right. 8
you've got to be LD. You've got to be LDS. You're the only people I know having 8 kids these days. Good for you.
Thank you very much. I wouldn't change anything. I absolutely love being a stay-at-home dad, spending a lot of quality time with my kids, and my family is definitely some of my greatest sources of joy and entertainment.
Well, great. Well, it didn't start out that way, though, when you were a child, did it?
No. Actually, I grew up in a family of 9 kids, and we were kind of the Beaver Cleaver family up until I was about 16 years of age, and that's when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he spent the next few years going in and out of the VA system through radiation and chemotherapy and surgeries to save his life. And during that time, there was no income coming into our home. The cars were repossessed in the middle of the night by the bank. And soon thereafter, the sheriff's department showed up at our house and informed us that our house had been sold at a public auction and we were now trespassing on somebody else's property, and we had 24 hours to vacate the premises.
Oh my gosh! How old were you? How old were you when that happened?
I was 16 years of age, and
wow.
So, I watched my mom struggle for the rest of my adult life, watching, her move from place to place. Unfortunately, our church helped out with a lot of the bare necessities of life, but by no means were we middle class from that point on.
Wow. That was a real wake-up call. That's a scarring type of thing that sometimes when people go through that, they're never able to recover their relationship with money. Have you seen that?
You're absolutely. The good things, though, that came out of that is it taught me the value of hard work. It taught me the value of money. I'm definitely a lot different person from watching the struggles that my parents went through and trying to avoid some of those same pitfalls in my own life with my own family at this time. And so, because my dad was the only breadwinner in the family, if he wasn't able to work, there was no income coming in. And so I looked far and wide for some type of way to provide for a family that if something were to happen to me, the income kept coming in. And so I found a company, an opportunity with leveraged income and residual income.
But before you found that, Dave, can I ask, what did you start out doing?
Well, when I was 16 and everything went to hell in a handbasket, you could say, I left school early to go get a job to be the breadwinner in the family, to meet the family's financial needs. And so I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a GED, and I've done manual labor jobs majority of my life. And so I did everything from working at Jiffy Lube, running the shop back, checking air pressure and tires, to furniture mover, to pizza delivery guy, pest control, furniture mover, construction grunt. Manual labor jobs is about what I was qualified to do. And so there was no company out there that was really going to pay me a significant amount of money just trading time for money, because I wasn't bringing a lot of value to the table.
Wow. That must have been a real rude awakening, to go out to help provide for your family and find out it was minimum wage.
Yeah, when I was 21 years old, I was making $4.25 an hour. I still have my paycheck stubs in a little keepsake journal at my house. And when I got married, and had my first kid, I was making $6 an hour, and that's on no government subsidies, no benefits, no help in any way, shape, or form. Me and my wife just figured out how to make it on meager circumstances.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty amazing that, you would even be married at $6 an hour.
Well, if you saw my wife, you'd understand why I was married.
Yeah. Well, she obviously she had faith in you.
Yeah, I realized that women that hot don't come along in my life very often. I better take this one right now while I can.
Well, I'm glad you did. So what happened? So you're obviously looking for an opportunity to get out of $6 an hour.
Yeah, and in fact, I was introduced to the home-based business industry 4 different times, and I failed miserably at all 4 of them. I tried health and wellness product-driven companies. I tried a telecommunications company. I tried a ground floor startup company, and I tried an internet mall type of company, and I just never could make them work. I did everything they told me to do. I invested literally thousands of dollars trying to find the right opportunity, and quite honestly, they were all just excuses to launder money between friends. And so I understand the skepticism by a lot of Americans about the home-based business industry because I was there. My wife made me take an oath we would never, ever do another one. And then our current company fell into our lap and, completely changed our life.
Well, so what made she made you take a pledge that you wouldn't look at another one? What happened?
The last companies I took a look at was in the mid-1990s. It was an internet mall, and I went to a hotel presentation without my wife. We didn't have the internet. I'd heard about the internet, but I'd never actually seen the internet. And they had a computer plugged into a modem, into a projector, and they turned on the internet. And you know how it used to ching and purr and ping and buzz, and then finally, there was the World Wide Web. And they said, if you've ever failed in a home-based business, it's because you didn't have the internet to help you. And they started reading articles from magazines like Forbes and Money and Fortune and Inc. And they talked about how e-commerce was going to totally revolutionize our buying experience and was going to create billionaires in the next few years alone. And I thought they were talking specifically about their unique company, but they weren't. They were talking about the industry. And, that part of it is true. The internet has totally changed the way that we shop and get information and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
They showed me.
I don't buy anything that I don't research it on the web.
Exactly. It's totally different. In fact, just Amazon Prime over the last few Christmases, I haven't gone to any stores to ever buy anything. If I want to get something for one of my kids or my wife, I just simply jump on Amazon. I find it. I get the best deal on it. I get free shipping, and it's there in my house usually in 2 to 3 days. And what that saves me in time and stress during the holiday seasons, not have to fight the crowds and worry about things being sold out and stuff like that. It's just so much more convenient. So, I love that part about the internet, but seeing this back in the mid-1990s, I was like so blown away with how cool it was to be able to click on an item, put it in a shopping cart and check out and have it delivered to your house with this internet mall that they said, you can be part of this revolution for a once in a lifetime investment of $5,000. And,
wow.
Me and my happened to have one credit card, and it was for emergency purposes only. It happened to have a $5,000 limit, and my wife happened to not be with me that night. So all the stars had perfectly lined up for me to start another company. And, I jumped in and I got that mall, and I went around and started trying to tell everybody about how they could buy stuff on the internet. And the truth is nobody ever went to my internet mall. Nobody ever bought anything. And it took me over 3 years at 20-something% interest to pay off that disaster. And that's about the time that my wife took away my credit card, and she took away my debit card. She took away my man card. She took away every card in my wallet and said, please tell me you'll never, ever, ever do another home-based business again. And I promised her I wouldn't. But a few years later, somebody showed up to our house and wanted to show us, the current company we're in, we were very skeptical. We were very leery, but out of respect for the person, we took a peek at it. And again, we've made millions of dollars with this company. And now I'm so glad that somebody didn't prejudge us.
Somebody in the chat room asked, what does the guest mean by leverage income?
Leveraged income simply means that you get paid when other people go to work. And if you're not real familiar with the concept, talk to your boss tomorrow morning at work. He understands the concept. And I would rather have leveraged income than me being leveraged for income. And for the first 28 years of my life, somebody always leveraged me. There was a reason why my boss could be on the golf course at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, because he had 10 employees at work that he was leveraging their efforts. And I was always being leveraged. And now today I found a way to bless people's lives and help them. But anytime they're successful and share our service with somebody, I get compensated financially. And that is how we get leveraged income.
Right. So it's like would you rather do all the work yourself or have 100 people that are helping you and just get a percentage of what they're doing?
Wonderful. J. Paul Getty, one of the first recorded billionaires, I believe he's credited with that statement, that I would much rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of one person's efforts, because that one person could get sick, they could get hurt, they could die, they could quit, they could just find a better opportunity and move on, and now that 100% of their leverage is gone. But if you have 100 people and one person gets sick, you still have 99 people left to leverage.
Right. And the thing with business ownership, people always want to own their own business, but what I found with business owners is that they don't really own the business owns them.
That's so true. I actually work with a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs, and they all get in business because they want that American dream of business ownership, but nobody cares about your business as much as you do. If you own a business, you can't take off for 2 weeks at a time and just go on vacation and not be on the phone and not be checking in and seeing how things go. You always have to worry about, is the inventory going out the back door? Are people being dishonest about their time clocks, hours that they're there? Are people taking care of the customers as well as I would take care of them? When you own the store, your reputation's on the line. You run the store right. But when you pay someone an hourly wage to try to duplicate your passion for the company, it's just not going to be there.
Well, someone wrote a remarkable book about that. It was called The E-Myth. And, people always want to have that business, but they're good at one part of it. And it's very, very difficult to make that work. So I think business ownership has not, in the failure of startups is like astounding how much money people put in. I had friends with a mailbox business, and $100,000 just to open the door.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the statistics in America are only about 5% of companies make it the first 10 years. And so statistically, a new startup company has a very small chance of success. And the sad thing is, you become a slave to that company. It owns you. It takes away all your freedom, your time with your family, your passions and things like that. And, that's one of the reasons I love what we do, is because I have no employees, but I'm leveraging thousands of people's efforts. And I have no inventory. I have no product. I have nothing that I'm stocking, storing, rebuying every single month. And so I'm not, inventory poor.
And how are your bookkeeping skills? I know that's the thing that really gets a lot of businesses, is they don't have the accounting skills and things. And I have a friend now that led to a disaster in his business, because he had to count on other professionals to do things for him, and he was paying them enormous sums, and they were not doing it right.
You hit on a really good point, And one of the last great safe havens for tax write-offs is actually a business. For example, when I was an employee of another company, I had a cell phone. I paid a cell phone bill of over $100 a month. But what benefit did I get from that? Absolutely nothing. But as a business owner, a cell phone is a required tool to be in business. And so I just simply list that on my Schedule C, and that is totally a reimbursable expense at the end of every year when I do my taxes. Same thing with I had the internet when I was an employee, but I have the internet when I'm a business owner. Well, now that's a requirement to run my business from home. So now I simply put that on my tax return, and I ask to be reimbursed for my internet, for my printer, for my cartridges, 56 cents a mile for every mile that I drive. When I go out to eat, as long as I discuss business, a lot of my travel, vacations and stuff, I work business into them, so they're tax-deductible business expenses. In other words, I've helped college kids increase their federal tax return by $7,000 to $10,000 from one year to the next, simply by changing from the employee quadrant to the business owner quadrant, but not really changing their buying habits or expenses. It's things that they were already spending money on. It's just now they can write them off as business expenses.
Well, gosh, that seems like as good a reason as any to keep listening to what we're sharing here tonight.
Absolutely. You talked a little bit about people's bookkeeping skills and stuff. Again, without a high school diploma, I have a 10th grade, math background, and I only have 10 fingers and 10 toes. So, I'm not going to get too far up into algebra or anything else like that. But it's really quite simple. I have a business debit card for my business account, and I have a personal card for my personal expenses. If I can write it off in any way, shape, or form, I use my business card. I print out one report at the end of the month, and it reconciles in about a matter of 2-3 minutes on Quicken, and it makes it really, really simple. At the end of the year, my company sends me a 1099. I take each of those monthly report sheets in and give them to my accountant. He does my taxes for me, and I have an app on my phone called Mile IQ, and it tracks everywhere I drive. And so I simply reconcile that once a week. You swipe it to the left or swipe it to the right, depending on if it's a personal trip or a business trip. And every mile that I drive, I have a GPS recording of the start and stop time and place. So I simply print off that report at the end of the year. I give it to my accountant. He gets me 56 cents a mile for every mile that I drive. And that's one of the biggest ways the IRS likes to catch people is they don't keep an accurate travel log on where they really went. But this app actually does all of it for me. So I don't ever have to think, oh, I should pull out a little ledger and write down that I'm starting to drive business miles. At the end of the day or the week, I can just simply look back at where I went. It shows me a map, start and stop point of everything I did, and I can simply reconcile it real quickly. It's accurate, and it's bulletproof if I ever get audited by the IRS.
Wow. I've never heard of that app. That's outstanding.
Well, really, I wish I've literally introduced hundreds and hundreds of people to that app. They really ought to have an affiliate program where they pay me a commission, a commission for what I've done, because I've made them a wealthy company.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I hope they're not charging you anymore, at least. So
the cool thing is the app costs me about $6 a month for it. Now, if you think about it, for $6 a month, if I'm getting 56 cents a mile for every mile that I can document, I need to drive about 11 or so miles, and there's my $6 write-off for the month. Now, again, you can only be reimbursed by the government for miles that you adequately log and document. Well, there's nothing more accurate than a GPS map that shows at this exact time he started at this point, and at this exact time he ended at this point.
That sounds bulletproof to me, Dave. Very cool. Hey,
yeah.
Everybody, you're listening to Sacred Cow Barbecue. My guest this hour is Mr. Dave Hall, and we're about to talk to you about a home-based business opportunity that I actually think the network should think about, because right about this time I'm supposed to say, please go over, make a donation, business expenses, we're volunteer and listener supported, and please help us out, get this, get that. But I'd like to introduce a whole new way of doing it around here. Dave, let's talk about what this business opportunity that you got into. How long ago did you and your wife see that video that she finally said, okay, you can do
Yeah, it
another
was
home-based business?
16 years ago. It was November 29th, 1999.
Wow. So 16 years ago. And how long did it take you to say, hey, I'm making more money with this than my day job?
Well, it didn't take a lot of money to replace my day job at that phase of my life. You probably could have picked up cans on the side of the road and replaced my day job at that phase of my life. I actually made more money working part-time my first month than I was making at my full-time job. But it took me about 8 months before I had the guts to finally let go of that career and go full-time with our company. And, my second year I made a six-figure income, and we've never made less than six figures for the last 15 years in a row.
Well, okay, so if you had it to do over, would you have done anything different 16 years ago, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I would have worked a lot harder. I was kind of a little bit of a toe dipper. I didn't want to get off on the high dive and do the cannonball and just get going. And I prejudged a lot of people. I go, no, they probably wouldn't be interested. I was a little bit nervous and scared to talk to some people. And today, I'm not worried or nervous about it at all. I honestly feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof, because I feel today that when I meet someone, share with them what our company does, I'm potentially saving their life. I can share, numerous stories about people that their lives are completely different because of the service our company offers. And I can also share stories of people that wished they would have met me a few months earlier because of horrible situations their families are going through, where they've been treated absolutely terrible. And I wish we would have been, in contact earlier with them.
Right. Well, I've got some stories I want to share tonight too, but let's just tell folks, because people say, "Hey, this sounds good." They're going like, "Well, what is it?" So, okay, let me just go here right away and say I hate lawyers. I hate doctors too, but what happens is that out of those people, there's some diamonds amongst the coal, and I have some lawyers that are heroes of mine, and I have some doctors that are heroes of mine. But I know with lawyers, when you need one, you need one. And it's almost better to use them as I'd say prophylactically before you need one, so you don't really need one. Am I being clear?
Absolutely. The biggest reason why people hate attorneys in America today is the average attorney charges $300 an hour. They take 2 weeks to call you back. They're condescending a lot of times, talk down to you. And so we try to avoid them like the plague. The last thing we want to do is take $300 for our hard-earned money to go get, one questions answered or something else like that. But if you're ever charged with something, or you have a serious legal problem and your freedom is in jeopardy, and a lawyer steps forward and keeps you out of jail, or saves your house or your farm, or saves your job or your good name, you love that person because they came and saved you. And so you're right, it's one of those things where, because they've been so expensive, we've hated to use them. But if your family's in dire straits, first thing you do is, I want to get the best attorney out there to help us out. And the same thing with doctors. We don't like to go in the hospital. We don't like, doctors. But if all of a sudden one of your loved ones is on the operating room table, you want the best doctor in the world in there working on them.
Right. Let me ask you this. How did Legal Shield start? When I was first introduced to it, it was called Prepaid Legal. How long has the company been around? How did it get started?
Great question. It started back in 1972, and it really started by accident. The founder of our company was a school teacher, and he sold insurance in the evenings on the weekend as a part-time gig to just get some supplemental income. He was on his way to an appointment when another driver crossed a double yellow line and hit him head on. Now, because he was an insurance agent, he had automobile insurance, even though it wasn't required by law back at that time, to replace his car. He also had health insurance to take care of all of those medical bills. He also had life insurance just in case he didn't make it, but thankfully he did. But what he wasn't prepared for was the lawsuit that he was served with while he was still in the hospital recovering from his injuries.
That's outrageous. That's outrageous.
Exactly. But in America today, you can file a lawsuit against anybody for any reason. You don't need to be right. And the other driver figured that they would just settle and cop and pay for her car too, simply because he had insurance and they just wanted the insurance company to roll over. But he thought, you know what, right is right, wrong is wrong. You were cited for being the one at fault. We're not going to pay for your car. Sorry you didn't have insurance. So he fought it, but it took a year's worth of his income in legal fees to defend himself and his good name. Now, at the end of that trial,
a year's worth of income?
A year's worth of his income in legal fees. He said, he told me personally, I could have bought a brand new Ford Mustang off the showroom floor for the legal fees that I paid to just prove that I was innocent.
That's ugly. That's why people hate lawyers, right there.
Absolutely. But he thought to himself, I'm successful. I won this lawsuit, but I can't go through another one. If something else happens right now, I don't have the financial resources to get an attorney to help me out. But because he was an insurance salesman part-time, he thought, I protect all these families against catastrophic expense by paying a small monthly expense for health, life, home, farm, whatever it is. He said there's got to be an insurance company that has figured this out, that legal fees can be catastrophic. And there's got to be a company that has figured out a way where you can pay a small monthly fee and you can pool your money together with thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of other people and get the best attorneys out there and have that fee kind of dispersed amongst all of them. And he looked all over America, and there was nothing. There was nothing here in America. But he found out over in Europe, legal plans had been available since 1907. And he found out that Europeans have them overwhelmingly. In fact, in some countries, 80% of the population has a legal plan. And that's why Europeans don't use the legal system as a weapon like the wealthy do against the middle class, where they can bully them and push them around and paper them to death like we've done here in America. And even though we have the Constitution and all these rights, if you don't have the money to get access to your rights, it's the same as not having them. So he started Prepaid Legal, and that was a great name for a great company. It meant a great thing back in the 70s. You prepay for your legal plan with a small monthly fee. But about 5 years ago, we were purchased by a private equity firm out of New York for $651 million. And one of the first things that they did was change the name to Legal Shield, because back in 1972, Prepaid Legal worked. But if you say prepaid anything in 2016, it means something different. So prepaid cell phone, prepaid credit card, prepaid anything, the connotation is cheap, junky, you don't have good credit, you can't get the real one, so you had to go get a prepaid one. And so they realized we needed to rebrand our company and change the name so that people understood that just because you are prepaying for your attorney doesn't decrease the value at all. We only use AV-rated law firms by Martindale Hubbell, and that's the highest rating a law firm can get. In fact, some of our law firms are paid around $2 million a month. And trust me, you don't pay a law firm $2 million a month if they're not performing very well for your clients.
You know, I've got an interesting story here, Dave. I'd like to interject if I may. I've got a friend, back when I first, was introduced to it was Prepaid Legal back then, and stuff. I had one of the people that decided to get a policy and sign up. He'd worked in the insurance business. He never did much as an associate. And the other day he said, Patricia, I'd like to get back into that. Are you doing that anymore? I said, well, funny you should ask. But he said he's only used it a few times as a member. But he said one time he was on some kind of a leave of absence or something from the Department of Education where he was a special ed teacher. And he didn't notice it because they were just paying him a little bit of money, not enough to notice in the checkbook when you've got a family of 4 that you're managing. But at some point, they sent him a letter and said, "Oh, gee, we overpaid you. We're sorry, you owe us $5,000." And for any school teacher, that's a lot of money. And so he actually called the law firm, and they sent a letter, and he never heard from the school department about that $5,000 again. And so it was. He says that's what's paid for his membership since 2001 is that $5,000. And sometimes he's used it a couple other times. That's worked out great. But other times, all he's had to say to someone when they were really kind of screwing him over was, "Listen, I've got prepaid legal. Now it would be Legal Shield, and so I'm going to have to call the law firm." And they go, "Okay, never mind. Here's your money back."
Exactly. There's a lot of times that we use the plan without actually using the plan. I've used it hundreds of times. I've got letters, a stack of letters, where I've had them send, written correspondence on my behalf to straighten things out. But there's a lot of times where I just look at the other party and I simply say, "Are you sure this is how you want to handle this? Because I spoke with my attorney earlier today, and I think you're going to regret doing that." And you know what? It's amazing how all of a sudden they have a glimpse of reality, and they realize he's serious. He's not just bluffing. And it's nice that I don't have to use the legal plan on them by using the legal plan, just letting them know I do have the plan.
Yeah, that's a shield. That's why it's called Legal Shield. I have friends. They had a situation with a car. It hadn't been repaired in 6 months. It had been sitting at the place and stuff, and they weren't getting any satisfaction. And they finally said, "Okay, well, I guess we're going to have to call the law firm." And they go, "Who's your law firm?" And they said, "Oh, we'll just handle it now." and I thought, when I got back in this, I'm a litigant I'm a plaintiff in a lawsuit that I'm handling myself. It's been outrageously stressful for 3 years actually, and I've been, oh my God, when I have to, what would take an attorney an hour to do probably takes me 18. I have to go to the law library, look everything up, do the research, it's so stressful. And so when I got back into Legal Shield, I said, "Well, you know what? Now I got someone. I'll just call them up and ask them, hey, how does discovery work? It's blah blah blah." I asked them a bunch of questions. I had a whole list. They took their time. They answered my questions. They supported me. They said, "Wow, you know what? I hate litigation, and so that's why I'm one of the few lawyers that loves this job because of what I do." But it sounds like you're doing good. And tell you what, why don't you just send me your documents whenever you find some? I'll look it over. I can't give you legal advice, on strategy, but I can look it over on the face of it. My gosh, that's been outrageous. I thought for sure they were going to tell me, "Well, this is a pre-existing situation, so no, you're not covered by this." No, they've been really gracious about it. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And now I've got a situation going on. I got my first speeding ticket. I mean, that I don't think, I haven't had a speeding ticket. I got caught in a speed trap one time in New Mexico, but maybe 8 years ago. But I haven't had, maybe 6. And I haven't had, so right here on my own street, just an ugly situation. And so I called the law firm. They get straightened out. But I'm talking to because I'm one of those, people that thinks the law is not quite right, that's all commerce and everything. And I want to fight this ticket. And I know people that are doing it successfully, but it's going to take me some research. And the lawyer, she's going back and forth with me. And she finally said to me, "Patricia, this sounds really kind of fun for me because, but I can't do it for you because I have to be there 4 or 5 days a week, in front of these people." She says, and I said, "Yeah, but you can just be assistant counsel." She says, "Oh yeah, I can do that." I'm like, "You're kidding me. You're kidding me. You'd be willing to do that?" "Oh yeah. Yeah, sure." I go, "Okay, let me make my mind up here because I've got to, I'm one of those people, I got to do my research. So I think I'm going to do it because the worst thing that can happen is if I lose, I'll have a misdemeanor on my record. Big deal."
Yeah.
Yeah. But to have that kind of support has just, boy, did I time this right or what?
Yeah. I was down in Arizona a couple of years ago, and they have photocop down there. They don't have it up here in Utah. but I was just driving down the road. Yeah, I was speeding. I'm not going to deny it. And it was just taking my picture of everywhere I was driving. And I got 3 tickets in 2 days down there, and didn't find out about them until they mailed them to me, but turned them over to my law firm, and my law firm got all 3 of them dismissed. And I was just like, when you read that ticket and how much they threaten you if you don't pay that bill right then, and how it can result in jail time and, your license being suspended or revoked, it's so scary that the average person's going to read that bill that comes in the mail and go, oh my gosh, I need to hurry and, cut them 3 different checks and pay this. But turn it over to my law firm, and my law firm's like, no, they actually have to personally serve you. They can't mail you this, so just ignore it. But don't answer any emails.
And you have to be able to face your accuser. Your accuser's a camera.
Yep. So, I didn't know that. And here in Utah, we don't have photocop. And without Legal Shield, I would have just paid those tickets, and then they would have gone on my automobile insurance, and I'd had high-risk insurance for the next, 3 years and all those kind of things. But, the attorney walked me through and said, hey, look, you just don't answer any emails that come from, the state of Arizona, and they're not going to send someone up there to Utah to personally serve you at your house. But, I think it was like 90 days from now, this will drop off. You don't need to worry about it. And it was just so nice to know that I'm not going to jail. They can't do anything. The law's on my side. But you got to have access to that information. Without access to that information, it's the same as just being guilty.
Yeah, that's really true. So what is this so how much does this cost a month for someone to have this type of availability to a good rated law firm?
Wonderful. Our law firm comes in 2 different things. You can get an individual plan for a single person with no significant other or children, or you can get a family plan. Our individual plan is $17.95 per month for our legal plan, and our family plan is $19.95. So literally, you can add the entire family for $2 more per month. It's month to month. There's a $10 activation fee to get started. There's no contract. And the cool thing is with our membership, over 82% of the memberships that sign up are still on the books 1 year later. And of the 70% that did cancel, all of them were either insufficient funds or bank account closed, or they got it as an employee benefit from work and they no longer work there. In other words, the vast majority of the people who buy the membership love it, keep it, and they're under no contractual obligation to do so, which simply means they're getting more value than they're paying for. And that's why they continue to use it over and over and over again.
Okay, so that's one part, and that's really cool. So you can call so many times a year and ask for advice, right?
Unlimited. There's not so many times you can call. It's unlimited personal consultation. You can call 5 times a year, 5 times a month, or 5 times a day. You could be just legally lonely and want to talk to somebody and pick up the phone and get an attorney on the phone and ask them if it's legal to be lonely. I don't care why you're calling. You will never get a bill for talking to your attorney.
Okay. And so, and then they write letters and make phone calls on your behalf?
Yep, unlimited number of issues. They'll write a letter or make a phone call on unlimited number of issues. So if you have 1,000 different issues that you need letters written on, first of all, I'm going to recommend religion, but second of all, a legal plan. And you can use them as much as you want. Now, keep in mind, that's 1 letter per issue. They're not going to mail out a letter every day for you because you want to, letter somebody to death. But 1 letter per legal issue. If you want more letters than that, then they come at a discounted rate. But my experience has been 90% of the time when I needed an issue resolved, a nice, firmly worded letter gets the resolution I'm looking for.
Awesome. And once in a while, do they ever make phone calls on your behalf?
Absolutely. If, again, you can have letters or phone calls made on your behalf to resolve legal situations. They'll also do contract and document review up to 15 pages in length. They also do traffic ticket representation if you're in a moving traffic violation. They also do your will, your living will, and your health care power of attorney for you and your spouse. I know statistically almost 80% of Americans don't even have their estate planning done to protect the ones they love the most. IRS audit protection, if you're audited, you have 50 hours of tax attorney time preparing and going to an audit, and then lawsuit protection with a schedule of hours that increases all the way up to 300 hours just in case somebody points their finger at you and says, I'm going to sue you.
Well, that's a pretty darn good deal for, less than $20 a month. There's also another component to this that's called Identity Shield. Tell us about that.
Wait a
minute, hold on. Somebody's asking us a question. Olive, I don't think do you have to pay taxes on the $17 a month? No, that's what you're paying the company. But the money that if you were an associate that you make, yes, that you want to talk to your accountant about what would be your tax obligation there. That would be between you and your accountant, though. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
There's no tax on purchasing the membership. That's the money is just included in all your fees are included in that. So $17.95 for a single person, $19.95 for a complete family, month to month, no contract. If it ever becomes a burden instead of a benefit, it's as simple as picking up the phone and calling a 1-800 number and canceling your membership. But I'm pretty confident once you start using it, you're going to wonder how the heck you ever got along without it. It's kind of like
Dave, when I signed up again and remembered about this, because I had a perfect storm hit is how I got out of prepaid legal initially. 9/11 happened. I was doing group benefits and having a lot of fun with that. But 9/11 hit and people were laying people out, not adding more benefits. And then we switched law firms, and that law firm wasn't up to speed, and we were having cancellations and stuff. It was a problem. And so I lost interest. I wish I'd stuck it out. I know something about myself that sometimes I quit too soon. And I have to say that's it. But looking back on this, I can see 10 times that I could have used this service that would have changed something for me. Just this lawsuit I'm in right now, if they'd gotten an ugly lawyer letter, I think that would have brought them to the table and they'd have negotiated a settlement with me 3 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. And those are the big things that you look back and they're easy to recall in your mind. There's probably dozens of things on top of that were maybe just little nuisance things, like maybe, a credit card bill that was wrong, or a utility bill, or a creditor coming after you for something that you don't owe.
Somebody not standing behind their warranty.
Correct. Yeah. I had an appliance fixed a couple of years ago, and then literally less than a month later, it broke again. And I called the guy back, and he's like, look, I've already been out there 3 times. I'm not coming out again. I'm like, well, you have a 30-day warranty. He's like, look, I'm not coming out again. It's like, it hasn't been 30 days. Now, he can tell me he's not coming out, but when a lawyer sent him a letter, he refunded the entire $400+ that we had paid him to fix it, and he just washed his hands of us. But all we wanted him to do was come finish the job and fix it right. But instead, he figured it's just better to give us all of our money back and not even do business with us. Well, we found somebody else that came out, fixed it right the first time, and honored their warranty, even though we never needed to call them back a second time. So it's amazing how, we at $300 an hour, you're not going to call an attorney for a $400 problem because you're going to pay as much to fix the problem by talking to the attorney. But when you don't have to look in your checking account to find out if you're being treated unfairly, you all of a sudden look a lot more often. And those little things that are $5, $10, $20, $50 issues that you never would have thought about talking to an attorney about, all of a sudden you pick up the phone, you hit one button, and your attorney comes on the phone and you say, I'm just wondering, how can you help me with this? And you let them go.
I'm telling you, it levels the playing field, doesn't it?
It makes me sleep a whole lot better at night knowing nobody jerks around my family. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And I give everybody one chance to make the right decision. But if you mess up, you're going to hear from my attorney.
Okay, I want to talk real quickly because I can't believe we're running out of time. But this Identity Shield. Identity theft is the number 1 crime in the U.S. I have a family member, a sister that's been through it, and I'm telling you, she has post-traumatic identity theft disorder. I mean, it is traumatic to go through that.
Absolutely. In fact, over 6 million Americans last year said that they had severe stress from being a victim of identity theft. And unfortunately, most Americans still think identity theft is like a credit card problem. That's the least of your concerns. That's about 17% of the reported cases in America today. The bigger problems are going to be things like Social Security identity theft, character and criminal identity theft, medical identity theft, driver's license identity theft, tax return identity theft, and the list goes on and on and on. 1 in 700 people that perpetrate the crime of identity theft are successfully brought to justice. It's an international crime. It has no borders. It has no boundaries. People in Europe and Russia can steal your identity. In fact, the Target debacle, where they got 110 million Target customers' personal information, that was all done by a 17-year-old kid in Russia. I mean,
well, I've had my debit card changed like 3 times in the last 2 years because somebody's been hacked.
And it's only getting worse and worse. And so today, you either have something in place to take care of it and fix it and take you from A to Z, or else you're on your own. You've got to go put the pieces back together. And so the cool thing about our identity theft product, it's done by a company called Kroll. Kroll is the largest risk management company in the world. That's Kroll. And they're a worldwide global organization that's been around for about 45 years. They were hired by the Kuwaiti government to track down Saddam Hussein's financial network. They're brought in to do the forensic accounting for Enron, Bernie Madoff's finances. I mean, the federal government uses this company to find the most complicated financial fraudulent cases in the world today. And now what they do is they partnered with us, where we not only give you and every one of your covered family members a copy of your credit report, but then we monitor 34 billion, that's billion with a B, billion websites every single day on the web looking for your family's personal data. If we find any of it anywhere, we notify you. You simply reply, yes, it's me, or no, it's not. If it's not you, we assign a licensed private investigator to your case. You give us a limited power of attorney to go work with all the government agencies, the financial agencies. So you go back to doing what you do, whether that's a housewife, whether that's, an electrician, whether that's a plumber, whether that's a bus driver. You go back to work and just live your life. And rest assured that you've got 7,000 attorneys nationwide and over 2,200 employees with Kroll that are working to get your good name straightened out. And we give a $5 million service guarantee that we'll do it right the first time.
Wow, that's impressive. So how much does that cost?
So for, again, our family, $19.95 for the entire family. Everyone up to the age of 18, you can add up to 8 children on that. For an individual plan, it's only $9.95.
Wow. So for a single person to have both the legal shield and the identity shield, about how much?
$27.90 for a single person, $39.90 for a family.
Jeez, can't. In this, I would think if you had this, since you're protecting assets, that this would be something that you could write off as well.
It's 100% a tax-deductible expense. I write it off every single year, and my accountant encourages all my business partners to write it off because your legal fees and stuff are deductible in there. So, yeah, absolutely, write it off.
Okay, so I think this would be a really great way for the station to fund the station here. How could they do that?
Absolutely. When I saw this 16 years ago, I had a job, I was paying my bills, but I had such a great experience using the service that I just naturally wanted to share it with people I cared about. So I started telling my brothers and sisters, and the next thing, all of them wanted to get it. And, the rest is history. Now, we've made millions of dollars sharing this with people. But not only the station, but there's a lot of great causes out there, whether that's for the families of political prisoners, whether that's for the station. There's a number of different ways that people are looking to raise money for good causes and do things. Well, you can always have your bake sales and your car washes and sell bumper stickers and stuff, but that's very, very temporary. It's little tiny spikes in income. But what value are you giving people if you just get on the air and say, everybody please donate money. Everybody please donate money.
Oh my
Everybody,
gosh, I'm so tired of people begging for money.
And exactly. We have to support these good causes one way or another, but asking everyone to keep giving for money when you don't give them back anything other than a good feeling in return, it starts to wear really thin. Versus now we can say to these people, hey, do you have protection of your good name with a top-rated identity theft program, or do you have a legal plan to guarantee protection of your constitutional rights? Vast majority of the people don't have either. Say, listen, for about $1 a day, because remember, individuals $27.90, just under $1 a day. Families are $39.90, just over $1 a day. So you say for about $1 a day, we can protect you or your family against two of the biggest problems in America: erosion of our Constitution and our rights, and identity theft, not protecting our good name out there, and no contract month to month. But the cool thing is, whoever shared that membership with that person is going to be compensated anywhere from $100 to $300 commission the first year, all paid up front within 24 hours of that membership processing, and they're going to be paid residual income second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year.
So Dave, I got to ask
say,
you 16 years, how much do you feel like you're getting in residual income, say, a week?
My residual income right now will fluctuate between $3,000 to $5,000 a week for old, mature memberships on the books. And that's
not your total income. That's just for the residual, right?
Yeah, that's just the residual part of it. That doesn't include the advanced commissions for the sales that I'm doing today that will start kicking in residual income 1 year from now. That's only memberships that are matured, have been on the books for over a year.
Well, that's this seems like it would be great. Network all the different radio networks together so they can raise funds together, network the patriot organizations together. And to me, it's a way to reach out to the people that aren't freedom-minded, that we can actually get them helping us and help them and start educating them at the same time.
Well, absolutely, because you're bringing value to the table finally. Instead of just holding your hand out and saying, please give more money, you're saying, how about, instead of you're saying, you give me money, now you're saying, how about I protect you? How about I help you protect your constitutional rights and your good name? Because if somebody steals your identity and destroys your name and you lose your freedoms because someone's done criminal activity in your name, or you lose your house, or someone steals your tax return, and you think, how valuable is that to you to have protection of all that information in your good name? It's priceless. Well, instead of asking people for a handout, let's give them value, and so much value that voluntarily every month they say, I want to keep this for the rest of my life, so that over time that builds up a base residual income that a few years from now it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars a month coming in passive residual income to take care of all kinds of incredible worthy causes.
You mentioned that 5 years ago the company was bought, I think you said $651 million. But I think I understand that MidOcean did their homework for a year, their due diligence, and they actually spent, did I read $70 million doing their due diligence on this company?
I know they spent millions. I don't have the exact numbers right in front of me. I was a stockholder of prepaid legal stock at the time, and they bought out all of my stock at $66.50 a share. But I can tell you this much: no company is going to stroke a check for $651 million until they've had numerous experts in every field go through your company with a fine-tooth comb, from accounting to regulatory compliance to financial advisors to everything. So I know that they spent millions and millions of dollars before they opened up the checkbook. And so, when I run into people and they say, well, this all sounds good, but I need to do my research on your company, I kind of just smirk and smile a little bit and think, we're not asking you for a check for $650 million.
Exactly. Dave Hall, thank you so much. I'm going to put a link in the chat room, everybody. If you want more information, that's great. And Dave, thank you so much. It's been a great show. Thank you so much.
Happy to help anytime.